What's up, guys? Welcome back to another YouTube video. We just competed at the NAPF Championship. I have a lot to share with you, a lot to walk you through, but first, let's cue that intro. First and foremost, I have to thank everyone who has supported me along my journey. Of course, we are nowhere near finished, but this is definitely not the beginning. I hate when people say that this is just the beginning. It's not the beginning. The beginning was a long time ago. We started this journey a long time ago. In fact, we started this journey way before I even stepped on a platform or submitted registration for a meet. All right, so this is a long time coming, and I just want to say that it is an arduous journey, but it's meant to be. It's supposed to be, and I genuinely appreciate everyone who's kind of come along for the ride, because in a way, when you do that, I become part of your journey as well. There are people who came before me who inspired me to do what I'm doing now, who I've learned from, and I want to just thank you. Thank you so much for being a part of this journey, and yeah, man, and supporting me this entire time. We finally did what we said we were going to do. All right, so we're going to break that down. So diving into the results of the meet, we did break the 900 kilo barrier. We are the first lifter in IPF history, 93 kilo lifter in IPF history to break the 900 kilo barrier. More on that in a second, because I don't know if that's like the truest statement ever, but I do think it's fair to say first of all, we do own the total world record now. We did claim back the total world record squat. And yeah, technically we are the best 93 in the world and in IPF history. I definitely do think that we've got to add some small notes to that, because like I said, I can't confidently call myself the absolute best unless I know for sure I have earned that title, and I just don't think I've done that. So although I am very happy with the statement and being able to claim that title currently, I just don't know if it's the truest statement to make. So we'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, let's just dive right into the results at the NAPF Championship. So we totaled 901. We squat 341 kilos, which is about 752 pounds. Of course, that does take back the world record squat. So we had set the world record back at Sheffield 2024. I believe we did 337 kilos, somewhere around 744-ish. And then Carlos chipped that record at the World Championship most recently. And I believe that means he took 337 and a half. And yeah, and we took it back. You guys know me, I don't chip records, I crush them. So we did not try and chip Carlos's record. We tried to crush it, and I believe we did that successfully. Thank God, because that squat record belongs to me, and I'm very grateful that I got to kind of get it back, because it took me a long time to get it in the first place. Bench, dude, man, bench was crazy. We hit 222.5 kg, which is about 492 pounds, and that was a PR. We'll talk more about each lift later in this video, but yeah, man, I mean, we had way more in the tank as well, and I'm really, really happy with how bench went. And then deadlift, we did what was needed for the 901. Naturally, of course, I really would have liked to go way beyond what we had done, but just the way that the day had shaped out, it just made more sense to make the call that we did. What did we pull? It was 337 and a half, so about 744 pounds for that final deadlift. And again, that put us at the 901 total. So yes, we are technically the first lifter in IPF history to break the 900 kilo barrier in the 93 kilo class. So we have the world record total. The original world record total was 895 kg. So we broke it by about 6 kilos, which is awesome. And then we also now own the squat world record. So I can say that I am not only the best 93 in the world currently and in IPF history, but I also have the squat world record. So I'm also technically like the best squatter in IPF history, which is, I'm very grateful. Like I said, there are things that we can argue regarding those statements, and I absolutely will shed light on that. So yeah, so those were the results. Now, am I happy with them? Yes and no. We accomplished what we had set out to, which was to total 900. That was the first big goal, right? It wasn't even necessarily to break the world record total. It was to break the 900 kilo barrier. I'm happy with having done it, because finally I was able to prove to myself and to the people who believe in me that I am capable of being the greatest in the world. Not just the greatest in the world, but the greatest of all time, right? Because it's one thing if you win a world championship. It's another thing if you, let's say, were to win a world championship, but have to set a world record total to do it, because now not only are you the best that year, you were the best in all years. And that's really what I want, right? And so I'm grateful that we were able to do what we did. In terms of what the actual goals were for the meet, if you had watched the previous NAPF video, you would know that my original goal was to total 900 on my seconds, use my thirds for 923. I 100% believe I am capable of 923. I know I am capable of it right now. In fact, I think that 923 might even be a little bit lower than what I'm truly capable of right now. That said, it just, unfortunately, just the way things panned out, it wasn't going to happen on the day. Or did I have 915? I believe so. I had at least 910 in me, absolutely. But to say that I had 925 to 930 kg on the day of NAPFs, probably not. And that is it's bittersweet, because yes, we did break the total world record. Yes, we did get the squat world record back, but we did also fall short of not only our goal, but also what we are capable of. And I hate that. I hate falling short of what I'm truly capable of. But it is what it is, man. Iron sharpens iron. You use this as an opportunity to get better. It's that simple. So in short, I am happy with the result of the performance, I should say, but I'm very unhappy with how things went. You know, like I said, I do think that the performance was a little sloppy, and I did fall short of my goals. That's the truth. And that's kind of partly, why I had made the video that I did just before the competition, because I wanted to be transparent about what I think I am capable of. But not only that, I want to be transparent about what it is I'm actually going to try to do. I think that's probably the best way I can put this. Because I feel like it's easy to kind of hide behind this lens of, we'll see, I don't know. Maybe I'll go for it. Maybe I won't. I used to be like that. And I used to disguise that as a sense of humility. That's not humility. That was just a lack of confidence, right? And so this meet was actually the first time I was the most confident. That is all because of my faith. That is not me. And that's the truth. If it weren't for being rooted in my faith, I would not have been able to go into this competition as confidently as I had, as humbly as I had. The truth is, I knew I was going to accomplish what I had set out to. But in this way that's like, I don't need to boast about it. I don't need to shove it down people's throats or anything like that. I will. It's that simple. I will let my performance speak for itself. In fact, Ryan Lapdat from King of the Lifts, we were scheduling a podcast, and he had wanted to do the podcast prior to the meet. And I specifically told him, I said, you know what, man, I think this time, let's do it after. I need this performance to speak for itself. I don't want to talk about what I'm going to do and act like, I'm the best and this is what's going on. I'm super capable. No, let me just put it out there. No, this is what I plan to do. It's not me trying to be arrogant or gloat or anything like that. It's genuinely like, this is my plan. I believe I'm capable of X, Y, Z. So I'm going to go do X, Y, Z. And that's it. And truthfully, we fell short of that. We did, again. The only difference is finally we walked away with something that is at least a fraction of a reflection of what I'm capable of as an athlete. And so for that, I'm grateful. In short, there were a bunch of things that went really well. There's also a bunch of things that didn't necessarily go well. Like I said, we did kind of fall short of that 923, but I do think that if we make certain changes, we'll absolutely be where we need to be to hit 930 plus, in 4, 5, 6, 7 months. Whenever that next meet is, we'll be ready for that. So the weight cut went really well. It was actually probably the smoothest weight cut I've ever had in my life. Everything went perfectly. I was using the Carbon Diet app for almost the entirety of the cut. It wasn't until about the last week or two where I was still using the app, but I wasn't using the app's suggestions for the macros. Lane Norton was helping me tweak things so that I could water cut and gut cut well. Going into the meet, dude, the day before the meet, that morning, I was 204. In kilos, I think that's like 92.5 maybe, something like that. I don't know. But I was underweight the day before the meet. And I was still eating, still drinking, all of that stuff. And I ended up, dude, I absolutely could have made the cut to 90 kg, right? And that's pretty crazy to think about because it was just so easy, so smooth. It was nuts. Now, the only downside though is that this time the recomp was a little fucked up. I didn't do anything that was too different from what I've done in the past. I do have some ideas as to why things got fucked up, but I can't say for certain. All I know is that my GI was so fucked up, dude. Like my stomach was killing me the entire meet. I couldn't hold my hand out and hold it steady. Like I just was constantly kind of shaking and stuff. And I didn't really start to feel like myself until deadlifts. So although the weight cut went really, really smooth, and I wasn't like I didn't feel super dehydrated and stuff. I just felt very like, I don't even know how to describe it, like weak and brittle, and just not like, everything felt heavy on my back. I couldn't really feel my legs under me. That's how I felt basically throughout all of squats and most of bench. And that's why I think squats did not go well at all. And I just like, as soon as I got under my opener, I was like, man, I know this is gonna be a fucking fight today, because I don't feel like myself. Dude, I was shitting like every 5 seconds. It was crazy. Like I've never had that much GI discomfort, and I just have never had the recomp go that poorly, despite hitting all the markers. Now, there are possibilities that it came from just maybe too much sodium. It could have been too much carb, but I really don't know. I have to have a call with Lane, and we're gonna try and break it down and figure it out. My hunch, this may be completely off, but my hunch is that I did spend more than 24 hours in a at least somewhat dehydrated state. So because of that, I think spending that much time dehydrated or quote unquote malnourished in some way, I think it just took that much longer and was that much more stressful on my body to recomp. Whereas in the past, although my water cuts were super egregious, they happened in basically like a 6 to 7 hour time frame. Like I was in a sauna, yeah, for 6 to 7 hours, but before I started that sauna, everything was normal. And then after the sauna, I was like 10 pounds underweight just from water. But as soon as that happened, I was gonna weigh in and then recomp and bring it all right back in, right? So my body spent very little time in that dehydrated, malnourished state. And I think that was an advantage. So my thought process is moving forward is, why don't I get even closer to weigh-in weight, right? So 93, why don't I get even closer to that through my body weight cut during the prep, and then use the sauna if I have to cut a pound or two, because the sauna, a pound or two is nothing. Like that's a session or two at best, right? Before I was cutting like 5 kilos from the sauna, and that can be very difficult to do. And it gets harder, and you lose less and less and less as you get lighter and lighter, right? So it's a double-edged sword. I mean, it sucks. But if I'm only a pound or two away from the class, that's such an easy cut to make with the sauna. And so we don't have to spend this time in this dehydrated state, pulling electrolytes early, all this other shit. I found what worked for me. And again, I spoke about this in my previous video, but I found a diet, a system that works for me. And that in conjunction with the Carbon Diet app, I was able to lose weight at a very consistent, normal pace that allowed me to hold on to my muscle, if not build more muscle, hold on to my strength, if not get stronger, feel really good, and of course, have such a smooth weight cut going into the meet. Like I've never had this experience before. So I'm really grateful that we did that. Now, I will say the caveat here is you have to put in the work. Like you can't do this 2 weeks before. You have to start this, a couple months before at least, especially because for me, I was losing about half a pound to a pound a week over time, right? And so because of that, I needed the 3 months or so to lose the 10 pounds, I would say I probably lost about like 8 to 10 pounds. And it took me a while. Now, don't get me wrong. I wasn't always super on top of my nutrition, had some cheat days here and there and stuff. And maybe that set me back a little bit, but you get the idea. This is something that you can absolutely lose the weight, hold on to the strength, build muscle, all of that stuff, especially if you have the room to do that, if you're not like already super fucking lean, but it is going to take time. I say all of that just to say that my plan as of right now is to just simply continue that cut. Like I'm not going to try and just create some sort of drastic deficit, but I'm also not going to stuff my face with shit. I'm really trying to just continue this process of getting leaner, getting stronger, getting leaner, getting stronger. So in my opinion, the best way to fix the recomp issue that we had from NAPFs is to, I think, get a little bit closer to the weight class so that I don't have to do some sort of like water loading or anything like that. And then just sauna a pound or two, if that. Or even maybe be at the weight class going into the meet and then not have to do anything. I think that'd be a perfectly reasonable solution to make sure that this doesn't happen again. Because like I said, I think the only reason why we did not have the ability to squat what I believe we were capable of was simply because of the GI discomfort and just not being able to feel strong and feel like myself until like deadlifts really. So aside from the weight cut, let's talk about the game plan and each lift, why we made the selections we did. And then we'll start to dive into some of the other topics. All right. So First and foremost, of course, the game plan was exactly what I said it was or in the video prior to the NAPF championship, right? The idea was to total 900 on our seconds and total as close to 923 as possible on our thirds. Now, like I said, because of the weight cut situation, the downside was squats just didn't really show up. So we hit our opener on 683 and it moved well. The speed was there, but I felt it on my back. It was just heavy. It was hard to hold position. And I was like, man, dude, like I just don't feel like myself right now. And I didn't feel explosive out of the hole. It is what it is. I was very committed to the plan of saying, fuck it, let's load over the world record, the 341. Let's load it on the second, no matter what. I don't care how the opener moves. The main reason for this is because historically, the second attempt gets called for depth. And so the third attempt is very risky, right? Because we really don't know what's going to happen. Not only do we have to make sure we hit it strength-wise, but we also have to make sure we hit it depth-wise, right? If I take what I want to really take on my third, on my second, or at least somewhere close to that, it gives me a little bit more breathing room. If I get it on my second, great. And if it was somewhat conservative, I should have more in the tank for a bigger third. If I don't get it, it's okay because we have another chance at it for the third attempt. The risk, of course, is you are taking a pretty heavy number for your second attempt. If you don't get it, especially if you don't get it on strength, then you're kind of fucked and you just end up with your opener. But my thought process is, well, I'd be fucked anyway if all I ended up with was a lower number than the real number I want for my second and missing the real number I want on my third, right? Because to me, what's the difference between squatting the 683 versus, let's say, 727 in a championship like this, right? Yeah, I may end up with a higher total, but it's not a world record total. And so if it's not the world record total or if it's not first place, then it doesn't mean anything anyway. Who cares how close I got to it, right? So yeah, so that's been my thought process for a minute now, and I'm sticking to that. So it is what works for me. I also am very comfortable with taking big jumps in training. I go from like on deadlift, I go from 650 to 750. On squats, I will go from 660 to 740. Like it doesn't really bother me much. And as long as I've trained that way, I'm pretty prepared for it. I also just don't see the point in taking super close jumps. I mean, you're basically just taking the same number over and over again, essentially. Your body doesn't know what the number is. It just feels the weight, right? And so to me, I'd rather just save gas and pace myself for something. So that's the thought process behind that. So we took the 341 on the second. It moved well. It wasn't easy by any means. And I remember it feeling really heavy, a lot heavier than it had the week prior, because I had taken 341 or 340 as my last single for prep. It moved a lot slower. It felt a lot heavier at the meet, but again, it is what it is. The shitty part was that I had gotten called on depth. And honestly, I thought my second attempt squat was deeper than my third attempt. It is what it is. So we got called on depth, so of course we had to retake that. And man, dude, that whole scene was so stressful. It was crazy because obviously, you know, we hit it on the third. It was probably the hardest squat I've ever had in competition. It was such a grind. I basically, in order for me to try and go deeper, I kind of like had to bottom out a little bit in the hole. And what's crazy is even then it was still questionable, which sucks. I don't know what I'm going to do with my squat. We'll talk about it, but it's crazy, man. I just the way my body is built and everything, when I have that load and I'm in that position, it's like I'm fully lengthened. Like you can look at my hand. It's whatever. We can talk about it later. Either way, no excuses. We're going to figure it out. It's just mind boggling to me because I know like I bottomed out in the hole for that third attempt. And the reason why I know that, A, I felt the stretch, but B, I lost my position. So when I bottom out and really try and just like sink and hit, my chest will come forward naturally. That bar will pitch forward and I'll have to use a lot more of my erectors to grind out the squat as opposed to staying in a good position and it being like an elevator, straight down, straight up, right? That's why that squat was such a grind, was because I hit that and kind of fell forward, right? Like my chest collapsed a little bit because I tried to bottom it out and get that stretch reflex. And then as I'm coming up, you know, now my back had to fight more and more and more. So that was a really grindy squat. Again, it was called for depth. And then the protest was like 5 minutes long, dude. The jury took forever to come up with a decision. And obviously, thanks be to God, we ended up getting the call in our favor, which never happens, man. I always got the shitty end of the stick. Like, it's always been actually overturned and not in my favor. I'd get a good call and then it would be called bad. That's happened multiple times. To finally have it go my way is pretty crazy. I almost don't believe it. And it genuinely made me feel like I didn't even deserve it because it just never happened. Where I was like, okay, this had to have been just like fucking gift because there's no way this would have happened. But that is how I felt. I was sitting in the back, especially like when it first happened, I was like, all right, look, man, I've been here before. We missed it. And, now the whole meet might be blown. We'll see what I can pull, see if we can still get that 900. I'm still going to go for it, but this sucks. And then when I got the news that it was overturned, I was like, what? Like I teared up. I was like, this is crazy. This is not happening. And that's a higher power. So yeah, man. So that call was overturned. So we get the 341. Now we're still in position for not only, of course, did we get the world record squat, we crushed the world record again, but now it also set us up for the 900 total again. So that was a really important piece to grab. Now let's talk about bench. Bench, dude, all prep, like I made some changes and tweaks to my programming and my technique that really paid off. And I'm really happy about that. So if we can continue this trend, bro, I will be benching well into the 500s in no time. I know for sure I had a 500-pound bench press in me at NAPF, despite the GI discomfort, despite the weight cut and all that stuff. Like I had 500 in me. We wanted to be not conservative, but smart. So we hit the second, I think it was like 478 or something like that. And in my mind, I was like, okay, we can go for the 501 or 496, whatever that would be, 225 kg or 227 and a half, something like that. We could do it. And I think we have it, but it's a little too risky because if we don't get it, then we really have to make up ground on our deadlift to secure the 901. If instead we secure 484 to 492-ish, we are in a great spot. 492 would be perfect. So that's what we went with. We went 222.5. My original plan was to go 200, 220, and then 227 and a half or whatever 501 is, right? So 440, 484, and then 501. But my coach, John, wanted me to take 474 or 478. So I was like, you know what? That's fine. I don't mind doing that. So I took that for the second instead. And then again, like I said, it set us up well for the 222 and a half. So I'm very happy with that call. I think that was a smart call. Like I said, it's a PR, 2.5 kg PR. Haven't PR'd my bench in competition in freaking 3 years. So that's awesome. It moved really, really well. But again, sloppy, man, sloppy. So complete transparency. You can even hear it on the broadcast. Apparently I timed out. Now I will say that I was told in the back that apparently, and I don't know if this is true or not, it's just what I was told by somebody who is a coach and who was out there. They said that they forgot to reset the clock when they switched out like referees or juries or something like that. That's what I was told. And so they didn't reset the clock. I'm pretty sure I wasn't setting up for a full minute. It certainly didn't feel that way, but either way, it's pretty unacceptable. It is what it is. It's tough to feel like I truly earned it when you have things like that happen, But what I will say is I also have been more often than not on the receiving end of human error and bad mistakes on the jury behalf and the referee behalf. My third bench from Sheffield is a perfect example of that. I mean, I still to this day have no idea why that call was made, and that cost me potentially, second or first place even. So either way, I am not going to sit here and put myself on some pedestal and say, wow, like, see, look at my perfect performance. It was far from fucking perfect, far from perfect. Okay. So, and that's just the truth. I'm just being honest with you. I have a lot to improve upon, but either way, we got the bench. So deadlifts, going into deadlifts, like I said, I started to feel my legs again, started to come back to life a little bit. And I think deadlifts went somewhat how I was expecting them to. I did get something really good out of deadlifts. I ended up, for the first time ever in competition, or really even kind of like in my life, being able to pull, low to mid sevens back to back. So historically, I've never been able to pull over 700 twice in the same meet. I just would lose my gas. So what we did was, because of the position where we were in, and we knew that we had to line up 901 instead of the 923 because of the squat situation, what we did was on the second deadlift, we decided to secure the world record, period. So we decided to chip the world record. Then we decided on the third attempt to go for 901 instead of like 909 or 907, something like that. We knew that 905 plus was 100% there. We knew it. My best deadlift in competition was 771. My deadlifts in prep were the strongest they'd ever been, ever. So I knew that I had the strength for a minimum of 765. And at max, I think I definitely had potentially even 785 if I didn't take, 730 something or whatever for the second attempt. If I had just taken, let's say 700, I think I would have had the gas for that. But to have 765 in the tank, 100%, absolutely. So yeah, so we knew that that was there. But again, just thinking about, okay, what is the primary goal here? What is it? What statement are we really trying to make? We need to break 900. So we said, you know what? Fuck that. We're gonna go for 901, make a little bit of a statement with that extra kilo. And that's what we did. Okay, so we took the 744 for the third and it worked out. And we hit the 901. And I think the 744 for the third, it was pretty easy. It wasn't so difficult that I was like, oh my gosh, like, thank God we chose this number. It was easy enough for me to feel like, okay, we had an extra 5 kilos here, which is great, because to me, that means that on a day like that, weighing in at 92.05 kg on the day, which is the lightest I've ever weighed in at, to weigh that light, have the recomp go the way it did, and the way squats felt and everything like that, and how grindy the squats were, for us to be able to still pull the 744 and it not be terribly difficult was a great sign. So I definitely think we had the extra 5 kilos on deadlift. And like I said, we had some extra kilos on bench. So we were put in a really good position, man. So we secured our 901, and that's what we went there to do. Like I said, we absolutely could have gone for 901 on the second deadlift, and that's kind of what I had wanted to do. But I also knew that I probably wouldn't have had as much gas for a bigger third if I did that on the second. Keep in mind, I've never been able to hit over 7 back-to-back. At Worlds in Malta, I hit 733-ish on my second and then tried to pull for podium on the third, just like 5 or 10 kilos up from that, could barely get it off the floor. I don't even think I got it off the floor. Whereas here, we hit the 733 or whatever it was on the second pretty easily, and then went up, hit that third pretty easily. I won't say it was super easy, but it wasn't incredibly challenging. We hit that third, and again, that was back to back. So just going in with all of this information, and you're kind of like, all right, what's the best decision that we can make right now to make sure that we get the primary goal achieved, right? And so that's what we did. All right, so that's the review of all of that stuff. Rodney in the back was super, super helpful. Ray, of course, was handling me, super, super helpful. There were a couple of other guys as well that were in the back that were really helpful in making sure that we were successful, not just in the attempt selections, but also just for the performance in general, just going out there and giving everything. Although I'm not super happy with the performance, although I do feel like we fell short of what my true capabilities are, I did take a W in every single area, which is rare, right? I not only hit a squat PR, right? I've never hit 752 pounds in competition. And I think that's only the third time in my life that I've ever hit that weight, period. But we also hit the squat world record with that. So we were able to take back the squat world record. On bench, yes, we had more in the tank, but what's important is we hit a 2.5 kilo PR with what we had, and that set us up well. So that's huge right there. And then on deadlift, I think the biggest W here, although I didn't get to even come close to my best deadlift in the meet, just didn't really make sense to pull that. We were able to finally hit back-to-back, 720, 730 plus. And that's huge for me. I mean, that really shows the potential of where we could be, going into a world championship, going into Sheffield potentially. I mean, this really sets us up well. We no longer have to throw Hail Marys on the thirds. We no longer have to worry about pacing as much because we know we have more in our pocket. We have more tools at our disposal, so to speak. And that's a great sign of things. Naturally, of course, there are a lot of things that need to be fixed. We're going to talk about that in a second, but first, I definitely want to speak on the mindset and the overall experience that I had hitting the 901 in that final moment. It felt amazing, but at the same time, it felt like I had done nothing. The accomplishment itself didn't really mean much to me, and it was hard to find purpose in it. Truly, what brought me to my knees after hitting that final deadlift, it was two things. The first was, I received this overwhelming amount of support and unconditional love from my parents. There's nothing I could do to earn that love and earn that support, earn that belief that they instilled in me. But being able to share that moment with them, it almost felt like I could finally prove to them that they were right. I could prove to them that they were right to believe in me, that they were right to instill that in me, that they were right to love me. I don't have to earn that, but that's just how it felt. The second piece, though, was almost like the opposite of that, was my Heavenly Father, my relationship with Christ. I received a gift from Christ. That moment was a gift. I'm not worthy. I was born to be great, but I am not worthy of this. I'm not worthy of this moment, the accomplishment, the adoration, all of it. who am I? I'm nobody, right? I mean, I work hard, yeah, but we all do. Why do I deserve this? I don't. And yet you graced me with this. You gave me this gift. I received something that I was not worthy of receiving. That is grace. And God gives you grace because he loves you unconditionally. His love for you is so immense. There is nothing and no one who can match it. And that gives you this sense of surrender. I am not worthy of this gift, yet you love me so much you gave it to me anyway. Thank you. That will bring you to your knees. I did it. We did it. But we're not done. We talk a lot about this in the King of the Lifts podcast, and I highly recommend you guys check it out because I think there's a lot of pearls in there. I think there's a lot of value in that podcast. I always want to be as transparent with you guys as possible about all of this stuff. But yeah, I think I was as real as it can get, and I think that's important for you guys to listen to. That way you guys can either learn from it, be inspired by it, or know what not to do and what not to think, So definitely check out that podcast if you want to hear more about the mindset and everything that was kind of going into this competition, and even everything after. So this next piece that I want to talk about is what changes I need to make to my training to improve my performance and the standards to which I compete. And this whole section could be like a 5-part video series in and of itself. So I won't bore you with all the minutia. What I will say is there are some obvious things that need to be gut checked. The first, of course, is squat depth still. We need to figure out my squat technique. I had a similar issue with my deadlift when I was pulling sumo. It was really hard for me to find a consistent positioning that would allow me to be as strong as possible, as often as possible. And when it really mattered, I would choke because the deadlift position just wasn't good. That happened in Malta, right? We switched to conventional. We tweak technique with conventional, obviously tweak some of the fatigue management, the intensity, all that stuff, or the programming of the intensity, all that stuff, and it paid off, right? The same thing needs to happen with squat, and it might have to be a drastic change similar to what we had with deadlifts, all right? So squat depth 100%. Now, some of the things I'm considering is, of course, high bar, an ultra low bar, which I don't think will work, but it might. Switching to flats is something I'm considering. Some combination of all of these different things is something I'm considering. Of course, there are some programming changes that are going to be made that will make me more comfortable and stronger in these positions that I need to be in, especially in and out of the hole. So there's all these different changes that we'll definitely make, but we're not sure which one's going to really work. So we're going to try them all, but there's a bunch of different changes we're going to make to the squat that I feel like will absolutely help improve our performance moving forward. So squat depth 100%, timing all of my sets, timing my attempts, timing my rests. I definitely want to take that a little bit more seriously because I definitely need to be more cognizant of the amount of time I'm spending trying to get under the bar and the amount of time I'm spending, in between sets, resting and stuff. One thing I will say is this meet was just as fast as a world's meet. It was a very quick meet. Essentially, it was supposed to be 3 flights. It cut down to 2 because 10 people or 7 people didn't show up to the meet. So it turned into a very fast meet, which was brutal, but at the same time was great because it mimicked the same pace of a world championship, which is exactly what I wanted. I want to be able to do this, perform at the body weight I'm supposed to be, hit the total world record, and do it in an environment that most reflects, let's say, a world championship environment. That's exactly what we did. So timing of things is something I'm going to be working on. And then I think the last piece, or one of the last pieces, going to be deadlift grip as well. So my deadlift grip is pretty good, but sometimes for whatever reason, like I definitely do feel my grip slip a little bit. And I do have strong hands, strong fingers. So I usually can hold on, but it's just something I'm going to be thinking about in the back of my mind on, doing longer holds and that sort of thing. I think the last piece, of course, is just figuring out some more tweaks to make to the cut. Because the cut worked, but the recomp didn't. And so that's something that I need to, fix. But outside of that, all the other variables are just some basic training variables that I think we'll want to manipulate given these phases of training that we're going to have to enter based on whatever the next competition is, all right? So those are the things that we're going to try and fix moving forward. The final thing I want to talk about here is what's coming next, as I'm sure a lot of people are curious as to if I'm going to Sheffield or not, if Nationals is the next meet, if World Games is a possibility. I am just as curious as you are, actually. I really have not heard anything from anyone, so I really don't know. I mean, it's been about a full week and a half now since the meet, and it is still a little early to know, but I really don't know what to expect, man. I have no idea. It's tough because I received 2 wildcard invitations in the last 2 years, and Sheffield has only been around for 2 years. So each Sheffield I have gone to compete at. And each Sheffield I've competed at because I was invited via wildcard, which is kind of crazy to think about. What I will say, if I had to argue on my own behalf, the first Sheffield wildcard invite, nobody thought I was going to do anything. We almost broke the squat world record, but despite, basically not getting the squat world record, we still were able to place third, but we potentially could have even placed second or first that meet. The second Sheffield, similar situation where we did finally get that squat world record, so we did do that. Made a great battle with Carlos, who's another phenomenal athlete. But we placed fourth, but had we gotten that third bench, we definitely would have been in position for potentially third, second, or possibly even first place. So it's not like we got the wildcard invite and didn't do anything, right? We showed up and we gave everything and we burned our ships. We went all fucking in, and that's exactly what I'm there to do, is to go all in, to fight. And we do that every time. Now, fast forward, we went to the NAPF championship. We broke the squat world record again and crushed it, really. I mean, we squat 752 when it was previously like 745 or 746. And now we own the greatest total in IPF history for the 93 kilo class. Okay, 901. We are the first 93 to break that 900 kilo barrier in IPF history at an international meet. That's huge, man. So we have two world records now, the world record squat and the world record total. And we didn't just chip the world record total. We crushed it by 6 kilos. And I know I have the potential for way more than that. So putting it all together, I do think I make a good case for being a wildcard selection. That said, I completely understand that there are a lot of other really great options as well. And so because of that, I totally get it. Like, if I don't get selected for the wildcard, man, it's okay. Of course, I absolutely want to step on that platform to compete in front of over 2,500 people live and to prove to the world just how great you can be when you put your mind to it and when you believe in yourself and you devote yourself to it and you go all in. I am here to show you that's all possible. That's my job. And I would love to be able to do that on the Sheffield stage. Yeah, of course, and especially as an SBD athlete, it would be amazing. It would be an absolute honor to be able to do that. But at the same time, I understand that the decision is outside of my control. Whatever comes will come. And that's okay. My job is to be the best athlete I can be. No matter what the next meet is, what do you think I'm going to do tomorrow and the day after and the day after? I'm going to train. I'm going to try and get better, right? So it doesn't matter what's coming next. The goal stays the same. It's 930 plus. It's the best in the world. It's world champion, right? That's the goal. So whether it's at Sheffield or it's at Nationals or wherever, it's going to happen. So I'm going to focus on me, stay in my lane and do my thing and keep my head down and keep working. What comes will come. And that's it. So I haven't heard anything about Sheffield. Of course, I would love to do that. I would love to seize that opportunity, but we'll see. Like I said, I really haven't heard anything from anyone. And I'm sure too, if nothing else, we have to wait for the drug test results and all that stuff to come back. That usually takes like 2-3 weeks. So that's understandable as well. Like, we need to make sure that this was done clean and that's exactly how it should be done. I don't mind waiting for that. So that's the update there. If not Sheffield, then obviously Nationals would be the next bit. And just, I don't know if I'm going to go 83, 93 yet. If I had hit the 923 at 93, it'd be easier for me to make the call to go 83. The thing is, I just know what I'm capable of, man. Like, I really want to set the 10 times body weight total at 93. And truthfully, I kind of want to do it at 90 kg. So I can be like the undisputed, absolute best 93 lifter in all of history, period. Like that's what I want. And I recognize that there are athletes who have hit over 900. There's, I think Jawan, I don't remember what he hit. I think it was like 915 or 916, and he did it at 90 in the USAPL. And it was a local meet, but still, I mean, it's a phenomenal total. So it's hard to call myself like the best 90, 93, whatever, when I have a total that's less than another, natural 90 kilo lifter. So I need to hit 930 plus at 90 or 93. Like, it has to happen. My goals for powerlifting in general right now is to become a 2-weight class open world champion. I would love to hit 950 at 93, and I'd love to hit 900 minimum at 83. Beyond that, winning Sheffield, obviously, like I said, winning the open world championships, that's really like the scope of what my goals are. The last piece to talk about is World Games. I'm not 100% sure what's going on with World Games. I do think I had the best GL points from NAPF, or I was best lifter. I'm not 100% sure. If I was, then the next piece with that is I get selected as like an alternate for the World Games, because of the World Championship, every slot was used for the World Games. So somebody would have to drop out for me to go to the World Games. It is what it is. It's fine. It's just kind of the way it goes. You know, it's fine. I would love to go to the World Games though. That would be a dream come true. So that's kind of like what the horizon looks like moving forward. Like I said, my goal, if I stay 93, is to total 930 plus, and I 100% believe we are capable. I know for a fact, I can total at least 915. I 100% know that for a fact. And that would break the current world record by 14 kilos. To go for the 925, 930, I also believe, I'm 99.9% confident it is there today, let alone, you know, 3, 4, 5, 6 months from now with more prep. So yeah, man, I'm very confident, very excited. I'm the lightest I've been as a 93, and we weighed in at the lightest we've ever been at NAPFs and hit the highest total in IPF history for the 93's world record total in IPF history. So yeah, man, we're in a phenomenal spot, but I want to be clear here. It's not me, it's him, and that's the truth of it. Okay, my strength comes from a higher power, something that's way greater than me, and that's just the truth, man. You know, I put in the work. Yeah, absolutely. But win or lose, the numbers, all that, it's all bullshit, man. It's all fragile metrics. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's who you become in pursuit of the outcome. It's who you have to become, man. That's what it is. I mean, dude, at the end of the day, you have a choice to make. The choice is, am I going to overcome this? Am I going to find a way? Am I going to make a way? Or am I going to let this crush me? Am I going to allow this to have the power over me? It's a choice you have to make. It's a choice. Because until you are dead, you will always have that choice. I'm not saying the choice will be easy to make, and I'm not saying that once you make the choice, it will be easy to follow through on. That's not what I'm saying. That's not how this works. But the choice, nonetheless, is yours to make. That's the gift of free will. Okay? That is the gift. So you have that choice. You can't blame anybody but yourself. You have that choice to get better and to overcome. That's what this is. The 901, the whatever, it doesn't matter, man. It is literally, it's just a fucking number. It doesn't matter. I mean, people aren't going to remember this shit a year from now. Fucking a week from now, honestly. People have already stopped talking about it, you know? So it's just, it's a moment in time. It's not about that, but it's who you're becoming in order to achieve those things. That's what's special. That's what's important. That's where we're building towards. That's the scope right now. That's where we're headed. Definitely let me know in the comments what you guys think I should do next. I am curious, honestly, to who you think the pick should be for wildcard invite. I honestly would love to know what you think. Dude, there's so many phenomenal options. I mean, Joe hit the 865 at Raleigh. You've got Jamar, who can definitely try and break the squat world record. You know, you got Emil, who absolutely, I think, has the potential to total over 900. And obviously, really, any of the 93s have the potential, I think, to total over 900. But I think just given, like, last Worlds, who would be most likely to be in that wildcard slot probably would be Emil. Internationally, you've got some phenomenal options. So it's just, there's a lot. There's a lot of factors going into this decision. And at the end of the day, SBD is also a business. You know, they have to make a call that's right for the competition. You know, it's not just about the strength of these athletes, but there is also like the draw, the marketability, and all that stuff. You know, these are all things I think that they probably think about. So, but I am curious as to who you guys think should be wildcard picks. And I promise you, I will not be offended if I am not on that list. But yeah, guys, the last thing I want to say is the training app is so close to being launched. I'm a perfectionist. I need it to be good. I want you guys to have a great experience, at least at launch. And then after that, of course, with your feedback, we will consistently try and improve this. But that will be launching very soon. All the programs are written. We've got 10 plus programs already done. They're in there. I might make some slight tweaks and changes. I actually might even add a couple programs. The Discord's ready to go. The website's being done, but that doesn't need to be ready for, you know, launch. And yeah, man, we're definitely going to, we're going to go all out with this. I really want to make sure you guys have everything you'd need to be able to be as successful as you can be in what it is you're trying to be successful in. This is so much bigger than lifting. All right. So appreciate everyone who tuned into this video. I apologize if I rambled on quite a bit. Still getting over being tired from the whole traveling, competition, all that stuff. I definitely am still in a sleep deficit, but I wanted to make sure we got this video done as soon as possible. Tired or not tired, because you guys deserve it. You guys need it. And I'm really excited to be amping up the content moving forward. So definitely be on the lookout for that stuff. But again, thank you guys for watching. And yeah, man, you got to go all in and burn your ships, baby. And with that, I will catch you guys next time.